Hey guys, Roger here. Hope you're doing well. A very simple video today. So for those of you who don't know, I am a convert to the Catholic Church, and I've lived a varied life. I've been a Baptist minister. I've been someone who's sort of, as the young people say, to some degree deconstructed, struggled with my faith. I can relate to people who are atheists, secularists, fundamentalist Christians. I understand these different ways of thinking. When I came back to the place when I was very confident after lots of study that Christ is true, then I began looking into what is Christianity. If I knew Christianity in some sense was true, what is Christianity? So I began looking into ancient Christianity, seeing the themes in ancient Christianity that as a Baptist I had sort of lost in Scripture. And when I started to see those again, well, I became convinced that Catholicism was true. Okay. What about Pope Francis? So I can say so much about this, but what I will say is this. There was a moment when it gave me pause, some of the things that Pope Francis would say, or some of the ways it was presented in media, both on the right and the left. If he gave an interview on an airplane, in the divided age in which we live, both sides would take the things that this man said and run with it in my view, to prove what it is that they want him to be or say. So if he says something that is supporting of postmodernist, left-leaning, liberal media would take something that he would say and then take it further than what he said in the story that they would present, it would be inaccurate. I began to see that, but at first it gave me pause. Not all of this was Pope Francis's fault. It was people taking it and using it as evidence to support, well, hey, he just believes like we believe as insert postmodern ideology here. On the other hand, there were Catholic YouTubers that I would watch who helped me with certain issues, work through certain issues, objections I had as a Protestant or as a, and they would sometimes react and say that Pope Francis said something, and they would say that he said what the left media said, and they would sort of instantly react and take it into whatever ideology they had going on, whatever, down the Pope Francis kind of stuff, just to be honest. That gave me pause, because the claims about the papal office from Scripture and history, I wanted to see, are these, they're falsifiable, right? So if you can show me these papal claims in Catholic documents and teaching, and then you could say, yeah, but are his words and actions falsifying those claims? That's where I was. If they are, well, then I must have missed something. I got to go back to the drawing board here. That's where I was at. So while I will say this, there are times, and I'm a nobody, and I don't have all the answers. There were times in which I did wish Pope Francis would be more clear when he was trying to be kind to someone who would ask him a question. I just wish he'd be a little bit more clear here so I could see exactly what you're saying. But at the same time, I want to say I do think there are good things about Pope Francis. He is, in so many cases, he is legitimately just seems to be a kind person who has some concern for others, and he's trying to be charitable and nice. That's going to get me some ire from certain people, but I do think that is the case. Here's what I came to, just to get right to the point. I had a couple of friends ask me this question, friends and acquaintances. How are you becoming Catholic when it seemed to be that the Pope is in the magisterium or leading the church against Catholic teachings? Isn't this a modal collapse? Isn't this a failure of the belief system? I don't think it is. I'm not trying to oversimplify the issue, but this is it. I know that Christ is true, and I've based my life on this, and I'm not a perfect person, but I took the step. Okay, if he is who he claims he is, if this is Christianity, I got to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to follow him. I read the New Testament, I read early church history. I know that the church I'm convinced it is originally the Catholic Church. And even if you disagree with that, this might be encouraging to you if you're a Christian. I know that Christ said the gates of hell would not prevail against the church. He said this. He said that he would build his church. And the first leader of this church was St. Peter, and this is a very flawed man. And throughout all the nuance of history, over all the arguing, over all the intense doctrinal debates in church history, I could get into nuance here. I mean, just intense, where all the questions were answered at first, and some people with authority were wrong. And yet if I look through the broader picture of history, in which I am just a speck, the church never failed. The gates of hell never prevailed against the church. Even if there have been bad popes, even if there have been bad bishops, even if there have been cruel Catholics, because I think those things have happened in history, the gates of hell have not prevailed against the church. Christ is true. He is true to his word. And I'm not going to wait. If the church was going to fail in the way that I was concerned, it would have happened by now. That's it. I'm not going to wait another lifetime, my puny lifetime, to see, well, it hasn't happened in 2,000 years, but it might happen in the next 10. No. This is where faith comes in for me. I trust Christ, and the gates of hell will not prevail against the church. So all the arguments and disagreements that we have about, whatever it is that's happening in culture, we're divided about everything. But people have been divided in the past. And the church gave some guardrails eventually that people, we can live in these guardrails. And even throughout all the failures, the church is still here. The church is still the pillar and ground of the church. And I trust that in this historical process, as Christ said, God himself has acted and guided. And here I am. And this authority is above me. So you talk about the debates at Nicaea, or you could just name them. There's so many of them. Icons, just so many things. The gates of hell will not prevail against the church. So my guess is 500 years from now, 100 years from now, that the debates that we're having in culture now, even as Catholics, because of God and because of Christ, the church is going to get it right. So at this point in my life, I don't even really stress about it. I see issues, and I think, you know what? I'm going to go to Mass. I'm going to do my best to go to confession when I fail, and I do. I'm going to try to have some grace with other people. I'm going to try to stand for what's right, but to love other people who don't understand or who won't like me. And I'm just going to be a Catholic. I'm not the authority here. I'm not trying to oversimplify the issue, but to me, it's that simple. Christ is true. I made that decision, and I'm in. And I trust him. No matter what happens, in the end, Christ wins. And I want to be on his team. It's that simple. Not trying to oversimplify it, but that's where I'm at. So, hey, as always, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, if you click like, I appreciate it. If you think this is a reasonable take or interesting, or if you agree, there will be some who don't agree, and I understand. That's okay. But whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you know that your life matters. Someone somewhere loves you very much, and I hope you're taking care of yourself. As always, thanks for your time and for watching. God bless.